Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Business Today TV. I'm Sakshi Batra and this is Market Today, a show where we'll help you understand the closing action on the D Street. With me is Shell Bhatnagar on the show. And when we look at the markets, just about 55 points lower on the index level. 22,350 is being tested as we speak, so a 0.25% of a dip on the benchmark index. The Nifty Bank on the other hand is doing better. 0.25% uptick can be seen on this one. 47,586 kind of levels. Since morning it's been the autos that have been driving all the show, led by Tata Motors, and it's now the PSU banks that have pulled up in trade, about 2.3% higher in trade as of now. So they're inching higher, and a lot of these second-rung PSU banks, those are the ones that have actually pulled up. Of course, apart from SBI, which has been hovering at all-time high levels of 784 odd, and we can also see stocks like Indian Bank, UCO Bank, Bank of Baroda, Bank of Maharashtra, all these banks really pulling up in trade as of now. The top movers on the Nifty include stocks like Bharti, Airtel, Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto, SBI and ONGC. Welcome, Shell. And we'll also be joined by Vaishali Parikh now, the AVP of Technical Research, Prabhudas Leeladhar.
Yes.
Very good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sakshi, and a very warm welcome to Vaishali and to all who are watching us on Market Today. Good afternoon to you, Vaishali. What are the two stocks that you are looking at for this last 1 hour?
So I would actually focus on PSU banks. That we have been seeing that yes, good run-up has been coming in the PSU banks. Let's talk about SBI that we've always been talking about, and also Union Bank. So these are the stocks that we are focusing on. And in the cash category, we like SMS Pharma. And with a BTST perspective, yes, it is ONGC. It's given a breakout, just given a breakout.
Oh, okay. So you have a slew of names from the banking space, SBI, you have Union Bank, and of course ONGC, that's something that she spotted, and 13% uptick on SMS Pharma as a cash stock that you can continue to look at as well. Of course, it's a whole host of stocks that are doing the rounds. Let's discuss with you Tata Motors as well, Vaishali, the one that we've been discussing all day through amid the demerger news. What is it that you are strategizing on this stock now? 1019 for Tata Motors, 3.2% higher, although off the high point of the day.
So I would actually say that we've witnessed a one-way rally. So my targets were 1030, and well, we did go beyond that. So I would actually say that yes, it's time to book partial profit. No further view for now because we are deep overbought and we've seen a one-way rally. So at this juncture, to recommend a fresh buy, I don't think it's right.
Okay, so at this point in time. Right, so at this point in time, no fresh view, but for sure you can look at booking profits as of now. But the other auto names have also started to pick up pace, Vaishali. You know, the likes of Bajaj Auto, for example, that's at 8350 odd levels, being seen 2% higher in trade. Maruti has seen an uptick again, 11,689. We've also seen Bosch, which we've been discussing for a whole long time for all our viewers. It's now at 30,000 mark, and 3% higher right now. We had talked about this stock right after the earnings, and we were starting to track this. It was around 26,000 odd levels, and it's now at 30,000. Anything specific in the auto space that you like beyond Tata Motors?
So, well, we are looking at Hero Moto, as you mentioned, and we continue to stay bullish even in Maruti, but I'm not seeing any new buy strategy in Hero Moto. Yes, we have seen some consolidation post the previous high, and taking support at 4,300 levels. So I think this is one stock which one can consider because it's just getting into a trend. We may see a retesting of the previous high of 4,840 levels, and then we can have a relook. But yes, right now, Hero Moto is having a positive trend.
Okay. Sakshi, what we'll do is that we'll take a detour into the markets. Both indices, which is the Nifty 500 and the Nifty 50, are absolutely flat, but two things have worked out very well. Remember in the morning we had suggested that any move towards 22,350, 22,300 has to be purchased, and that's worked out beautifully well. We've seen a very, very sharp spurt from 22,280 to all the way up to 22,400 on the Nifty as well, and two stocks that we had mentioned, SBI and ICICI, both of them at fresh record highs, and they are doing phenomenally well on the bank Nifty. Apart from that, we also need to look at how the broader cash markets are performing. If you look at the most active counters, you've mentioned Tata Motors, we've discussed HDFC Bank in greater detail, but within the NSE 500 pack, there's of course profit booking continuing in BHEL. Today 3.3% lower, 255.60. Remember, the counter had shot up very, very strongly all of Monday. You have a very strong move coming in Tata Chemicals, which we need to discuss with Vaishali. 5% higher. This is a bounce. That's the third day in the making, 1057, and now on substantial volumes of 918 crores. Vaishali, to you, what's buzzing in Tata Chem which might be of interest to our viewers?
So I would say yes. I mean, it shows signs of bottoming out. It did make a double bottom formation, and about 1,000, it was showing strength. And that's what precisely happened right in the morning. We've seen a one-way run-up coming in. So now what is important is for this trend to continue, we would take 1025 to 1030 as a support level. And if there is follow-up buying, I think this can go towards 1100 and so on. So I would say, yes, it is getting into a positive trend today. Of course, it's an exceptionally high volume. With the news, I think they had some news, positive flow of news coming in. But technically, I would say about 1,000. And the near-term support lies at 1025, 1030. That could be a level where one can re-enter, or probably those who have missed out can make an entry at those levels.
Okay. All right. There is some
Sakshi,
news
the other
as
stock
well.
we need to perhaps, please
Yes,
continue.
Shell. Actually, there is some news
Yes,
as well
please
that
continue.
Bloomberg is going to be looking to add India to the emerging market bond indices starting January 31st of 2025. So that news I just wanted to point out, it just came in on Cogenz's terminal. So this would be important. Remember, we've been talking about JP Morgan's emerging market bond index as well, and how India is going to be part of it. Now, Bloomberg is also going to be adding India in the emerging bond indices as well, starting January 31st of 2025. So another positive that could be looking at some fund flows that could be directed towards India going forward in the long run. Yes, Shell, please continue with the stocks.
Okay. Sakshi, I just wanted to mention Bajaj Auto. The reason is fairly simple. The company management was at another media organization, and the managing director, Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, mentioned that in his mind, the fair value of Bajaj Auto stock is 12,000 rupees. We are at about 8,400 on the futures, and the fact that the buyback, which is recently in effect at 10,000 rupees a share, he did mention that another buyback could be in the offing. He mentioned no time frame, and he also said that you can't hold me to it. So a potential buyback and a potential value that Mr. Rajiv Bajaj gave to a media organization while he was discussing monthly sales numbers for Bajaj Auto. This is all that I wanted to mention.
Okay, so we will continue to keep an eye out on and the buyback opens tomorrow, and that will be an important one to track as far as the entitlement ratio and the acceptance ratio is also concerned. So Bajaj Auto will buy back 1 equity share for every 82 equity shares held on the record date, and this translates to 1.22% of acceptance rate. Thus, a minimum of 1.22% of the shares will be accepted, with the final acceptance potentially slightly higher on a case-by-case basis. So we'll keep an eye out on that too. Apart from this, Bharti Airtel, how do you track the move, Vaishali? It's 3% higher in trade. It's been showing some periodic moves over the last 2 months odd. Is there merit in the momentum that we have been looking at in Bharti?
Actually, yes. I mean, this has been, I must say, it has been such a silent worker. I mean, getting into such a smooth trend, and today's candle, it looks very promising because I think it's on its way to reach 1200 levels. In fact, it can, if market continues to show this strength, I think this stock could be ready for higher targets also. So my view is positive on Bharti Airtel.
Okay, positive view on Bharti Airtel. We were talking about the oil and gas space for this entire last week and this week also beginning yesterday. Of course, the oil and upstream companies and the downstream companies were something that were a focus of our discussion all through previous few months. But it's the gas stocks that have started to gain traction and the attention of investors. So stocks like GAIL, MGL, IGL, they are coming back in flavor. ONGC, of course, you talked about, Vaishali. But what about these, city gas distributors and PSU gas names?
So I think yes, overall it still has some strength. I mean, OMGC, I just told you it's given a breakout, and we are looking at 300 plus. Then we saw some momentum coming in GAIL. GAIL also continues. In fact, MGL and Gujarat Gas, all of them are getting into a trend, and they continue to show strength. But I am also observing the OMCs. If you see BPCL, HPCL, they also look very promising from here on, ready for a new round of momentum. So overall, I think this sector on the whole, it still has a lot of upside potential.
Okay. So that's as far as the gas names are also concerned, and also the OMCs is where Vaishali is positive on currently. When we talk about the energy names, of course, power names is something that we cannot forget to discuss because that's one space that has been in the entire hot zone for the last 6-8 months odd. I'm again looking at PSUs like NHPC coming back in flavor. NTPC Coal India, of course, they have been constantly on the run up that we are now looking at. Even the finances like Power Finance Corporation and REC have been looking at positive moves here or there as well. Power space, are you looking at afresh, or are you looking at better to book out now with the profits that we've got so far in the last 6 months?
So in fact, these stocks are quite run up, but they are still not showing any exhaustion. But I'm
Okay.
looking at Tata Power. Actually speaking, I mean, I like Tata Power. As always, this has been the stock which has been my favorite, and I think this still has a lot of upside potential. So Tata Power is to my liking compared to REC, and I mean, of course, they are showing a lot of strength, but I prefer Tata Power at this level because I still feel that there is a lot of upside left in this.
Okay. Got that. So that's as far as Tata Power is concerned. And in the meanwhile, we've also got some more updates from Tata Motors. The February UK sales of JLR, they are at 2255 units versus 1670 units, and that's been a jump on a year-on-year basis again. So you do see that last tick coming again, towards Tata Motors. That's perhaps for this one. Again, strong promise coming in from the largest business in the in the private in the passenger vehicles that Tata Motors has, and that is from JLR, and that's showing promise again on this one too. Apart from Tata Motors, we're also looking at the entire basket of Tata Group stocks that have been showing some kind of a move. So we discussed Tata Chemicals, we've discussed Tata Motors. Tata Steel is something that a lot of people are again getting positive on the technical charts as well from the metals basket. Tata Communications was on their run up yesterday again. Anything else that comes to your mind, Vaishali, from the Tata Group?
So, well, we spoke about Tata Power. That was my recommendation. And of course, I mean, have a look at Tata
Yeah,
Investment.
of
Tata
course.
Investment. So, Tata Investment is another stock to my liking. I mean, of course, it comes in the cash category, and we have seen a very good run up coming in this. But I would look at this stock, given a chance, if it shows some dip, I think this stock is worth a buy even then. It's really run up, so it is not a fresh recommendation. But yes, this is a stock that I do like.
Of course, Tata Investment, the holding arm of the Tata Group in terms of its listed shareholdings, is at a record high and sadly at 5% upper circuit. Tata Power is something that we've discussed since yesterday. For those who've been with us, we've been long on the 365, the 385 call as far as Tata Power is concerned. Let me just see what that call is trading at this moment. Now it's definitely in the money, and we had caught it at somewhere like 14 rupees 25 paisa. It's at 21 rupees today, and of course the intraday high of this one was 23.35. A very nice move coming in on Tata Power, and it also gets Our Lady Luck's stamp of approval, which is very shiny. Okay, let's look at some other parts of the market, and it's ONGC Sakshi, which is gathering attention. No surprises there if crude oil is on the boil. It's definitely that's ONGC and Oil India's area of influence. I think we may have an all-time high. No, not yet. I think yes. ONGC is at an all-time high. No, not really. Still time, but 285.90 for you. While I look at the options data, Vaishali, would you have a view on this one?
On ONGC, yes, it is a recommendation. I do like it. I mean, you see the volume is good.
Yes.
And I mean, I'm not seeing the options, but technically I am tracking this stock and I have recommended this to my clients. I'm looking at a projected near-term target of 300.
Okay, 300 is what it is at. And what's really interesting is this 1.5% rise in ONGC stock futures is accompanied by a drop in open interest, which essentially means that all those people who were bearish on the stock, given the momentum that they've seen over the last 2 or 3 trading sessions, they are cutting their bearish positions. Therefore, you see this momentum. Remember, yesterday was the Nifty Energies Indexes Day, and today some of those stocks are in momentum on the longer side still. What else is taking? I think, Sakshi, it's the auto ancillaries which need to be paid attention to. All those, equipment suppliers to counters like Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto, Maruti are also in fine fettle, and none better than Motherson Sumi, Samvardhana Motherson. It's the top gainer in the FNO pack within the auto space, 124.70. Perhaps the beginning of a fresh move, as the open interest is fairly high, 8%. Vaishali, would you stick your neck out on Motherson Sumi?
Oh yes, if you remember, we have spoken about this stock right from 105 levels, and I think it's just begun to move. I think still there is a lot of upside.
Yes.
So I would still have a positive bias, and for a new entry, I would take now, elevate the support levels to 110, and look for a target of 135 to 140 levels from here on.
Okay. Right. So since we're talking about the auto space, Bajaj Auto is something we discussed with you, and Hero Moto you picked. The other two-wheeler maker is also at fresh record highs. Vaishali, TVS Motors, if you look at that one, and tell us what is the next target that you can spot on TVS?
So TVS Motors, yes, this continues to show strength. Even if I'm seeing the RSI, I think it's ready for still further upward move. I would say one should keep a trailing stop loss and look for a target of 2400.
All right, 2400 could be seen on TVS Motors. That's the one that could be on the upside now going forward from here. So it's PSU banks that we've discussed, autos, oil and gas that we've discussed. The other moving part is the real estate space as well. Anything interesting in this space? We've been looking at Phoenix Mills, Macrotech developers, Sobha, all of them in the thick of action, in the recent times. Anything that strikes you?
So I have been watching Lodha, that is Macrotech, and I think this stock too looks quite promising even from here. I think this stock can go to 1250 as a trading strategy.
Okay.
But while I'm talking to you, OMCs really need to be considered. Have a look. I mean, HP, BP,
Yes.
all got into momentum and they are looking quite promising. In fact, BPCL has started its move right from yesterday. HPCL has just begun.
Okay.
Well, Vaishali, you just taken it away from my mouth. I was about to mark HPCL and BPCL. Actually, the relative strength of these two is phenomenal today. And as you rightly point out, both of them are beginning their uptrend over the last 1 or 2 days. Let's look at HPCL and BPCL. Yes. What would you suggest? Which one do you like, HPCL or BPCL?
Well, I have been recommending BPCL right from yesterday, so I'm very comfortable with that. I mean, I'm looking at a target of 680 to start with from here on. So yes, BPCL, I've done my homework, and HPCL, I would say 520 should be taken as a stop loss, and look for a target of just a minute. Well, I think this too has still a lot of upside potential. So I would say, well, 545, 560 to start with.
And you know what, Vaishali, what has not started, which is visible on the charts, but not in the limelight as yet, is Chennai Petroleum, CHPC for you. It's how much? Two and a half, almost 2 weeks of downtrend, and Chennai Petroleum for you is at 928. This has the strongest relative strength within the entire energy pack. If you look at how many stocks, let me just give you an idea. Okay, this is how many stocks? 34 stocks. Within 34, the strongest chart as of now in terms of relative strength belongs to Chennai Petroleum. Any view here, Vaishali?
Well, so yes, as you rightly spotted it, it looks very attractive at these levels. I would say that yes, take 880, 870 as a good support level and look for a target of 1050. But well, as you're mentioning Chennai Petro, even MRPL looks good to us. Have a look at MRPL too. I mean, already in a good trend, done a little bit of retracement and ready for a takeoff. Volume has been high today. So yes, these two stocks, Chennai is yours, MRPL is mine.
Chennai and Mangalore, that's the fight. Chennai and Mangalore, you take your pick. That's the preferred states that you're going with. All right. Let's look at the markets again then. Subdued trade on the Nifty and the Sensex absolutely, but it's PSU banks, autos, oil and gas that are taking it away in the markets, and we are actually discussing a whole host of the stocks that are actually looking very, very positive even in this dull market too. And Vaishali is helping some of those picks to be pulled out as well for all our viewers. Let's discuss with you the defense pack. Stocks like HAL, BEL. How are you looking at these particular stocks? They were showing momentum and they were also at record highs, just about, or they're hovering still around those levels.
Well, it would be quite uncomfortable to, recommend HAL and all, but yes, BEL still has good upside potential. So I would say 205 should act as a support and look for a target of 220. But the stock which I really like right now, which has not really moved, is BEML. So BEML is one stock which I like, technically well placed. So yes, because we've spoken about Zentech, we've spoken about data patterns, all these stocks have shown a good run up, but BEML is one stock which is yet to show a lot of upside move, if the view is right.
Okay. So that's as far as the defense pack is concerned, and preferred picks shared by Vaishali on that one as well. And the one stock that you had mentioned, Vaishali, is now moving even further. SMS Pharma was, I think it's now moving even further up in trade as of now. Let's pull up that one. I can see some kind of momentum developing. No, it's 11% odd. Okay, fine, at this point in time. Let's again look at some of the other stocks that are moving. Okay, I can spot Sun Pharma now, that's ticking higher in trade from the pharma space after a long haul. Anything on Sun Pharma?
Oh yes, Sun Pharma, I think even today, with today's lowest stop loss can be considered because I think after a brief consolidation, this is showing a lot of strength. The candle is showing a lot of strength, today's candle itself. So I think once it crosses 1585, it will be ready for 1600 plus. So yes, Sun Pharma with today's lowest stop loss makes a good buy.
Okay.
So actually interesting things are happening on a couple of stocks, and I'd like to pull out Narayan Hirdale. Remember the Supreme Court had said that, actually warned that if the government did not intervene, it would impose central government health scheme rates on private hospitals as well in a bid to curb rising medical costs. And you see the kind of breakdown that's happening on Narayan Hirdale. Now it's the 6th day of losses, 1251. Of course, the stock had also run up sharply, but this is accompanied by fairly decent volumes of 3,85,000, and the counter is now at its lowest since March 31st. We seem to be gathering a lot of momentum on the long side. Therefore, I thought we'll balance it out by showing you stocks where a decent amount of profit booking is happening. Among them, news-led is Narayan Hirdale, and it's across the hospital space. Selling you've seen in Apollo Hospitals, which is also sort of accelerating. The most recent high was about 6,900. The stock now at 6,000. If you see the 5-6 day picture, this is the daily chart that's coming in front of you. If you see a monthly chart on a long-term basis, you'll see how the stock has sort of come off its most immediate highs. You see that happening in Fortis Healthcare, Artemis Hospitals. It's across the sector. So this is something that I needed to point out. And of course, the moment Vaishali's talked about ONGC, isko punk lag gaye hain. 284.95, two very big block deals happening, 3.46 crores and 5.16 crores on the day's high. Sakshi.
That's the move that's coming in on ONGC, and we don't fail to mention it always that if Vaishali is with us, it's going to be a lucky day, and that's how she's our lucky mascot, and 1.8% higher on ONGC at this point in time. All right, good enough time to take a break right now, and when we return, we will discuss more stocks going forward. Stay with us, viewers.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines, and many other sectors.
Welcome back on Market Today. We've been discussing the lady luck that Vaishali brings to us on Market Today whenever she's present. And to that, Sakshi, I'd like to add Tuesday as well. Mangalwar hai to Mangal hoga hi. And let us see how far these two catalyze gains that are happening across the market. She's marked ONGC for us, HPCL, BPCL, and of course, as she rightly says, MRPL is her pick, which is absolutely right. Anything that catches your fancy, Vaishali, when it comes to the railway space?
Railway space, yes. I mean, actually, well, IRCTC looks quite promising from here on. So also is the case with Railtel. I like Railtel at these levels. So these two stocks are on my radar, and I think Railtel also, if you see, it's in the consolidation. So I think once we take 400 as a good support, 410, 400 levels as support, I think this stock should continue to have its upward trend. And as far as IRCTC is concerned, I think it's gradually showing strength. So it needs to move past 950, 960 levels decisively, and that would give us a further run up towards 1000 levels to start with.
Okay. Right. So let's look at, okay, so the entire energy basket is something that has been moving, just like how both Shell and Vaishali have pointed out, Chennai Petro, MRPL. You also look at Dolphin Offshore, GAIL, IGL. The entire space is abuzz with gains at this point in time. Many of them also hovering near record high levels as well. Clearly, I mean, be it to upstream, downstream companies, the entire energy space is something that's in the thick of action. So, Vaishali, would it be better to stick right now with the large names of all of these baskets, or would it be better to look at some of the mid-cap names that could provide a better strength? What would you advise?
Well, majority of stocks that are looking good is coming from the front line. I mean, the large caps. And in the mid cap category, well, we have a few stocks. Well, it's stock specific movement.
Okay. Okay, I think there is some kind of a technical glitch. We've lost
I
the
think
audio
we
from
have some
Vaishali.
issue.
Yeah.
We'll get her back, ladies and gentlemen. But it's the relative strength that Sakshi, Vaishali, and I are discussing on the energy space, and within that, MRPL, Chennai Petro, Gas Authority, Indraprasth Gas, ONGC, BPCL, and oil, including Castrol India, are ranked in this order of importance as far as chart strength is, and therefore we see a lot of momentum coming in. I think for a moment, Sakshi, will also need to pay attention to PNB. This is, I think, gathering up, how should I say, strength when it comes to how stock prices are likely to are moving in the banking space. This is the fourth day of the rally, now at 129.80. Remember, this rally started at 105 rupees when PNB came out with a stunning set of third quarter performance. I'm just wondering if Vaishali is back.
Yes,
I
she's
think
back.
she is. Vaishali, what do you think of PNB?
Like PSU banks even now. And PNB also looks quite promising from here on. I think it needs to move past 132, 133 levels. That would be a breakout level. And that would give us a further target of around 140, 150, because that is what we are looking at on the weekly and the monthly chart. These are the levels which are quite positive, I mean, promising from here on. And as far as the cash counter is
Vaishali. Okay, I think there is some. Vaishali, can you hear us? Yes, please continue. We can hear you. Yeah.
yes, so PNB, I have a positive view. It needs to move past 132, 133, and we would be then looking at higher targets of 140. And as far as the cash category is concerned, I like Union Bank. That is what we have recommended today. We see a lot of volume, and yes, it is coming to a new high. So that is also the stock which we like.
Okay. Well, on that note, thanks a lot, Vaishali, for being with us onto this special edition and sharing with us all those brilliant ideas that you always do. And hope you get many more brilliant ideas when we meet up next on Business Today TV and Market Today for all our viewers again. Many thanks for being with us. Let's now welcome our other guest also on the show. We now have, I think, Sharad Bharti with us. All right, we'll wait for Sharad to join in just a bit. But meanwhile, let's quickly check the markets yet again. And I think there is some recovery that's taking place from the low point as well. 0.2% lower, still about 42 points down on the Nifty though, 22,362. And about 0.25% of an uptick still remains on the Nifty 50. So that's the one that's in the buzzing zone. And of course, it's 2.5% higher now for the PSU banks. They continue to soar higher in trade. And just like how we were talking about PNB, it's IOB that's taking it away, 9.5% higher for this one. Punjab and Sind Bank, Central Bank of India, UCO Bank, Union Bank of India, Bank of Maharashtra, Bank of India, and PNB, of course, we've discussed. 3% to 10%. That's the kind of move that we are seeing on the PSU banking space, and it's a huge move that we are actually looking at over here too. And even the relative strength that we see here is huge when we talk about IOB, Central Bank, Union Bank, PSB, UCO Bank. Those are actually showing some huge relative strength as of now. Everything is up by about 34, 35, 37 odd at this point in time. Sure.
I think, Sakshi, we just need to also mate this with the kind of volume buildup that we've seen on PSU banks. Needless to say, the record high is there on the Nifty PSU banking index. And if you look at the volume surge, that is sort of fantastic. There are multiple times volumes being recorded on the counters that you just mentioned. I believe Sharadji has joined us. Let's see whether we can get him on the screen. Sharad Avasthi from Smith's Capital is with us, Head of Research for the Private Client Group. शरद जी की जय हो, बड़े दिनों में आपके दर्शन हुए शरद जी, बहुत इंतजार आपने कराया, मेरे ख्याल से बजट के बाद अब पहली बार आप आ रहे हैं।
नहीं, बीच में एक आध बार मैं आया था, आप नहीं थे।
Yes, Arshal, and even yesterday he was with us while breaking the Tata Motors story. So he was the first person to agree to coming on cam for that very important, thought process that we wanted him to share with all our viewers. And he was the first one to say that it will be a green tick on Tata Motors tomorrow when we open, and that's what we've actually seen in trade today. Tata Motors and Tata Motors DVR both have seen 3.5% of an uptick today. Sharad, how would you look at these two stocks now?
I think I would continue with the same view. If you are a long-term investor, there is a possibility that there could be some re-rating. But I think based on this news, the movement that you have seen today, maybe for traders now, it's more or less a done deal. You would not have much of an upside from here. But as a long-term investor who wants to play out the story of the demerger, I think for them, there could be still scope for 30 to 35% appreciation from current prices.
Okay. Sharadji, just drilling this deeper as far as Tata Motors is concerned, of course you get a 1:1 share for the passenger vehicles plus commercial vehicles stock price. What do you think will individual companies trade at within this setup? If you see the combined price at 1,020, where do you think the weight lies? What will be priced more? Passenger vehicles where the margin is less, where the margin is more, but the top line is less, or commercial vehicles where the bulk of the top line is, but profit and profitability are lower than the passenger segment?
Here's a rule of thumb. Obviously, the passenger vehicle business should get better valuations. But in case of Tata Motors, what you will have is that there will be a domestic PV business and the international JLR part of it, which will obviously command much lower valuations. If you look at most of the premium car makers, they don't command the premium valuations that the mass market car makers usually get. And that is because of the growth rates that are a bit subdued compared to the mass market. So I think within that, passenger vehicles, EV will be one segment that will grow at a much faster clip as well. So that could get you additional. So most probably the PV part, which is more domestic and EV oriented, that will get a higher multiple on most SOTPs. The CV part could get higher multiples, but it will depend on the scrapping law coming into place and the type of adoption we see on the EV side. Globally, there is a push because they are more polluting and more used vehicles. So there is a push that commercial vehicles or the larger vehicles first move into the zone where they are converted into electric vehicles. So I think that is a trigger that they would be waiting in case the scrapping laws are introduced in India. That could be an additional trigger for them. So I think for CVs again, the trigger would be the adoption of EVs as well as the scrapping rule that scrappage laws that come into place. I think that could be a very big trigger for the PV side and even for the CV side. And the PV side will obviously gain from mass adoption of electric vehicles as well as general growth across India. So as a rule of thumb, obviously the PV side should get much better valuations. But in Tata's case, it could be a bit more confusing because you have to take into account the JLR part of it, which is a dominant position in the top line as well as the bottom line.
Okay. Mr. Avasti, could you also share your top stock ideas? We've not asked you that. Tata Motors is the news of the day, so we began with that. But your top stock ideas for today?
I think Bandhan Bank, we are looking at, it looks like a decent idea. The management is continuously guiding for improving the mix in terms of reducing the dependence on microfinance, which has been a bit of a volatile part of the business. And I think gradually with the national spread already happening, the spread across various businesses, AMCs, housing finance also being done, I think gradually the numbers should improve. And as the mix improves in favor of the non-microfinance business, there is a high probability that the rating multiples could receive a substantial boost for the bank going ahead. And even the credit cost metrics should look much better. The eastern part of the country has gone through some tumultuous movements, whether they are geopolitical issues or whether they were unrest issues or typhoons or you know natural calamities. So now I think that is behind us, and most probably the microfinance business should also stabilize. Add to that improvement in the numbers, so I think it should easily command 2.25 kind of price to book multiples. So I think anything between 325 to 350 is the target we are looking at. So I think Bandhan Bank could be a very good long-term bet from here on.
Sakshi, I think we need to analyze Bandhan Bank a little bit more. At about 198, this is almost available at its lifetime lows, which were somewhere in the vicinity of say 187, 180, 190. Sharadji, does it make sense to look at this kind of a stock, especially in a sector which is booming? PSUs are at a record high as far as the banking space is concerned, many of them. As also a lot of private sector banks, Federal to name one, Karur, ICICI and Axis are sort of flirting with record highs. Given that background, do you think Bandhan makes sense? You want to bottom fish at a time when we have momentum rallies?
Yeah, I think I always go against the momentum probably. But I think, yeah, Bandhan looks like an undervalued idea, an ignored idea in the markets right now. There has been some nervousness regarding the microfinance business and the NPA levels as well. But if you look at the numbers closely, the write-offs have been moving out of the balance sheet on the GNPA segment over the last 2 quarters. And I think that's a very good development for a microfinance institution. And our on ground understanding tells us that within the microfinance institutions, even when they were not a large enough microfinance institution or a registered institution, the credit matrices were decent even then. Though political uncertainty is generally associated with the microfinance business. But I think in case of Bandhan, it is not such a big drag. There has been some inspection or some audit report by the RBI regarding the claims that they had made regarding the Amphan and other natural calamities. But I think that's a general on the course audit and it's not such a negative for the bank. And I'm confident about how the bank would perform. And I think there's are stories which could have very strong re-rating. And if you look at the price to book multiples, they are not expensive either. So I think the type of growth that you can have across the mix with national presence, add to that the microfinance business growing at a faster rate and the other businesses also growing at a faster rate. It is not that the proportion of microfinance would come down because the microfinance or the other businesses will grow at different rates. It is only that the retail and other businesses, which is the more secured book, will grow at a much faster clip. But I think the way they have grown the microfinance business from scratch till date, that's a very commendable thing. The management bandwidth issue that was there when the bank got listed, I think now with Gru and other entities coming into it, most of the management bandwidth issues have also been handled very well. So I think most probably you will see regular improvement. As far as the other private sector banks are concerned, I'm also very bullish on an HDFC Bank or a Kotak. But those are well discussed, well known ideas. Everyone knows about them. Bandhan has more upside compared to these. 350, 325 is the more conservative target. I think more re-rating can follow into it over the long term.
Okay. So that's as far as Bandhan Bank is concerned, and you have a detailed view coming in from Mr. Avasti on that as well. Mr. Avasti, how about SBI? What would you really say on SBI now at 784? All-time high levels. There was a time when it was, the best performing stock as well from the PSU bank and the banking story. It lied low for a long period of time, and again, it's on the move and at an all-time high level, 784 now. Would you look at the stock positively at these levels, and would you advise any fresh investments?
Uh, we were a buyer for quite some time on SBI, but at these valuations, I won't call it expensive. I won't call it very cheap either. Though in comparison, if you want to play the theme that most probably the PSU private bank differential would substantially narrow down over the next 1.5, 2 years, SBI is the best placed bank to do it. There are some subsidiaries, the listing of which could add another trigger to it. I think even today we are talking about a bond index inclusion in the Bloomberg index. These should be very positive for the larger banks and for the government securities as well. So I think broadly you can comment that yes, a lower interest rate regime, everything should work very well for SBI. But in these valuations, I think it's already trading at median valuations in terms of a re-rating. In case it gets re-rated, you could be looking at maybe another 20-25% upside from current levels, assuming it starts trading at 1.72 on the consolidated level, price to book. But such re-ratings usually are rare and far that they don't happen at a regular interval. I think the major part of the move, which is a re-rating to the median levels, that has already happened. But still, if you were to look at PSU banks, I think within the PSU basket, SBI still remains the most attractive bet that you can look at. Even if it trades a bit normally, I think you could look at 25-30% upside with a re-rating in place. Without a re-rating, I think maybe 825, 850 is somewhere where the fair value would be for the bank.
Okay, so that's as far as the banking space is concerned. The other space I wanted to discuss with you is the IT space that's been constantly under pressure. And of course, the CLSA report today that downgraded a slew of the large cap IT names led to the drag in the morning. And even now, this is the weakest sectoral index in trade today, 1.5% lower. So Infosys, TCS, Wipro, HCL Tech all down by 1.5% odd. And this is also spread across to the mid cap IT names as well now. So stocks like even Birla Soft, the erstwhile performers are also coming under slight pressure at this point in time. How would you really look at the entire IT basket now, Mr. Avasti?
Across the basket, I think there is a scope for sharp re-rating happening over the next 3 to 6 months as the mood around interest rates and the US economy further gains solidification, and we have a more solid view about inflation and interest rate trajectory, which should ideally happen over the next 1 or 2 quarters. I think till that uncertainty is there, the stocks had run up a bit. I think Infosys, we were looking at 1850 kind of targets. It was somewhere around 1650, 1700, not leaving much on the table. Coforge persistent, they would have higher growth within the basket. So I think premium valuations that they clock in is because of that only. And long-term sustainability is also there in that business. Generative AI is one headwind for most of the sector, I think, because a lot of business would be lost to that, and we don't have first movers in that. So that could be a problem area for them. But I think largely, if you look at the numbers, I think maybe over the next 3 to 6 months, there could be some moderation. But beyond that, I think most of them would catch up. But likes of Birla Soft, etc., I think there's too much of froth in the valuations. So they might find it difficult to really sustain these numbers. Within the stock, I think LTI Mindtree, I would still want to go ahead with. I'm looking at targets of somewhere around 6,900. They have a first mover advantage on the generative AI part also. So that is one story I'm looking at. I think that should do very well. On the smaller stocks, I believe on dips you could look at a Mastec, the much smaller ones. Among the medium sized, I think once the interest rate reversal starts, emphasis could be in a sweet spot because they have a lot of synergy with the BFSI space. And with falling interest rates, I believe a lot of improvement could come in there. And on the frontline stocks, I think HCL, Infosys, and TCS, I think most of them are valued to perfection. Can't see much upside happening there unless and until they come up with some innovative strategies. But right now, what I look at is maybe you would look at an LTI Mindtree if you want to bet on a very strong re-rating. Even Tech Mahindra could make some sense. But comparatively, I would bet on maybe an LTI Mindtree on the smaller ones. A Mastec would look better. And in the medium size ones, I think emphasis looks like a good bet to have for the lower interest rate cycle.
I missed the stock that you linked to generative AI in the IT space. Could you please repeat the name?
LTI Mindtree, sir.
LTI. Okay, perfect. No issues. And we forgot to take your view on how third quarter earnings have panned out and what is Smith's research output in terms of potential outperformers that may have come up in the mid-cap space post this fantastic third quarter.
So largely, most of the results were in line with expectations. We did not have much of a downtrod. I believe Loris was one number which was not up to the mark and the numbers weren't up to the level. But I think at these valuations, you don't really have much scope for downgrade for these companies. Within the chemical space or the agrichem space, we did not see much of a pullback either in terms of numbers, though we expect some improvement to happen over the next 1 or 2 quarters. But right now, as such, when we look at the numbers, whether it's across the construction material companies, the plies and all that, even the chemical basket, in the auto side also, we have not seen any big hiccups on either side, whether the numbers have been very much below expectation or far above expectation to warrant a substantial re-rating. So I don't think there's been an abnormal jump anywhere, but I do expect to see some changes happening from next quarter onwards because I believe the last 3-4 quarters year on year we have been operating on a lower base. March quarter onward, we are looking at a more normalized base. So I think if the indexes or the large companies can clock in top line and bottom line growth on that base, that would be a very positive surprise for most market participants. But till such time, I think this quarter, there's not much of a positive surprise or negative surprise mentionables as such in any of the companies that we largely track.
Okay. Mr. Avasti, let's shift gears and ask you about the primary market space as well. We've seen two listings today, Exicom Telesystems and Platinum Industries, both hovering higher in trade after getting listed, although some profits being taken off after the listing gains as well. There are new IPOs that have opened up, JG Chemicals, Swami, Gopal Snacks, so a slew of action that's taking place in the primary market. Anything that looks interesting to you? Have you tracked any of the companies?
Yeah, Exicon Platinum we looked at before the issue. The only thing is that Exicon might have very good growth rates going ahead, the kind of charging infrastructure that they will put up. But the prices at which that most companies nowadays list leave you very little to bet on for them for the next 1.5, 2 years, maybe beyond that. And the market most probably assumes that most of the capex will go smoothly and everything will turn into top line and bottom line additions. But at current valuation, I don't think these two will make sense. Among the new ones, I think JG Chemicals, the valuations don't seem stretched. And even in terms of future profitability, the capacity utilizations are comparatively lower, so that's still around 50-51%. And I think if they can rake it up, last 2 years they raked up some bit of the capacity. If they can rake it up, that should be good for them. So JRG Chemicals looks like a good long-term idea if you want to bet on. And most of the next 3-4 years, you continuously see improvement at the top line and bottom line level as the capacity utilization improves.
Okay, so that's the view coming in on which are the most promising IPOs that are coming up. Yes, Shell, please.
I think we need to look at BHEL. It's a very, very interesting thing that's happened today. Remember, yesterday was a blowout. The counter
Yes.
moved 17% higher on an order that did not materialize. So that was the sign of a bull market. And all in the all through today morning, it dipped to a low of 254 rupees, down about 3, 4, 5%, and now it's suddenly shot up 14 rupees. So you have 269, 268 on the charts, and it's on dramatic volumes again, 44.
And in
1400
fact,
crores
Shell,
so far.
this is
Let's
on the
take Sharadji's
clarification.
view.
This is on the clarification
tell
that
me.
BHEL has just come out with. I've got the flash where they have said that finally they've got the order from NTPC. They mentioned that this is the order for Singrauli that they've got for a super thermal power project, that they've got this order. I mean, like, this was getting discounted yesterday when we were talking about it, and then of course they came out with the clarification that nothing is happening now, but we were thinking that, you know, already it's a lone bidder, so we do know that it's going to BHEL, and now you have a 2.5% uptake. Yes, please, Shell.
I think Sharadji is the best person to comment. Sharadji, अब क्या करें? कल order नहीं आया था, 17% ऊपर था, और आज order आ गया, अब it's reclaiming its move. What would you think BHEL minus the order? Okay, let's get the news out of the way.
Yeah, so considering that, though the news is material because it substantially bolsters your total order book. But without the news, I think we were looking at what, 6-7 rupee earning for FY26, and at current valuations, it's already 35-40 times. So I don't think there's much scope for improvement. I would rather go for an L&T where the valuations look much better within the engineering and construction space. Even for ABB Cements, I think again valuations are 65-70 times 1 year forward, 2 year forward. They leave very little scope. I think in any case, any disappointment comes in, which is something that can happen on the infra space or the EPC space very easily. I think these are priced too heavily for me to be comfortable at these valuations. Comparatively within the space, if I have to look at something, I would rather be happy buying into LT.
Okay, there is a clarification that I'd like to put. The order is worth for 9,500 crores. Remember, yesterday's view was that the 17,000 crore order from NTPC might come to BHEL. Now, again, there is a possibility that the order is for two different things, and therefore it will be announced in tranches. Overall, NTPC is spending 17,000 crore rupees. BHEL was the sole bidder. So far, it seems to me that the letter of intent for 9,500 crore rupees has come. Let us see what happens for the remaining 8,000 crore rupees. लेकिन देर आए दुरुस्त आए, हाथी आ गया, बस पूछ रह गई है. अब देखते हैं क्या होता है. Still, like I said, it's a dynamic changing world. कल कुछ नहीं था और स्टॉक 17% ऊपर था. आज कम से कम आधा तो आ गया.
Absolutely. So that's the way the markets move, and it's very interesting. It becomes very interesting in a boring market when you get stuff like that to talk about, of course. So that's how markets are for you. We are just about 3 minutes away from the day's close, ladies and gentlemen. So let's quickly look at the stocks that have been making all the moves in trade today. We've discussed Tata Motors. We've discussed a whole host of PSU banks that have been making their way up in trade. We've been discussing the auto stocks that have been led due to Tata Motors up move as well. Tata Chemicals, that's the one that continues to be at the top spot, which we had discussed right in the morning as well, as far as the futures trade is concerned. Following this is again Samvardhan Motherson, and you also have Bosch that's moving. So the auto ancillary pack is also in the thick of action. Then you have stocks like Vedanta and Polycab that have moved to the day's high level as well, and among the top movers in the F&O space. Sharadji, anything from this list of names that I took, anything that strikes your attention?
Samvardhana Motherson would continue to be something that I like. I think the valuations are still not stretched. Even if it trades at say 25 times, the fair value should be around 140, 150 on the stock. So that is one large cap within the names that you mentioned that I think does make the cut in terms of valuation comfort still, and there could be decent upside from current levels.
Okay, so Samvardhan Motherson has another vote of confidence. We were discussing with Vaishali just a while back, and this stock has become one of the favorites of most of the analysts who come on our channel off late as well. So something that we continue to track for you, and it's now at the day's high, 126.5 currently on Samvardhan. Well, on that note, thanks a lot, Sharji, for being with us on very special edition and sharing with us all those wonderful insights from stock markets, various stocks and sectors, and of course, sticking your neck out and talking about stocks which are at 52-week lows, but definitely investors can look at value being looked at when everybody is chasing momentum at this point in time. So thanks a lot. Appreciate truly your presence with us on Business Today Television. Let's start winding down the markets with us. So let's look at the Nifty. That's at 0.25% lower, 22,352. The level that Shell had been constantly mentioning, 22,350. We need to constantly keep an eye out on this one. It's testing that almost, towards the closing levels as well. 50 points lower in trade. The Nifty Bank holds steady, 0.25% higher in trade, led by PSU banks that stole the show towards the latter half of the trading session, 2.5% higher, in fact 2.6% higher now. A whole host of stocks led by the move on SBI, and then of course Indian Overseas Bank, UCO, Union Bank and the Canara Bank and the like. All of them in a very strong move in trade today. The auto space led by Tata Motors was in the thick of action as well. So you had stocks like M&M, Maruti also pulling up in trade. All of them showing strong bouts of momentum. Oil and gas space was definitely in the thick of action. We did talk about Chennai Petro, MRPL, the stocks like ONGC, GAIL that are in momentum, and you've got experts' views on all of those as well. And of course, we've discussed the OMC majors as well. Realty space about 0.16% higher in trade. Healthcare and metal just flattish with positive bias. Which are the sectors that have not contributed? It's the IT index that's closing 1.7% lower as the top drag on the markets today, followed by media stocks, the small cap 100 index over 1% lower in trade. We will need to continue to keep an eye out on this one. This one has been a weaker link in the markets of late. FMCG, consumer durables, financial services, mid caps also slipping into the red as well. As far as the top movers on the Nifty are concerned, Tata Motors continues to be at the top spot, 3.5% higher. Bharti Airtel follows, 3% up move. Bajaj Auto, 1.7% higher. SBI, 1.6% up move. ONGC, Sun Pharma, Coal India, NTPC, the top movers on the Nifty. On the downside, you had stocks like Bajaj Finserv and Bajaj Finance on the weekly expiry of the Nifty Fin services, and therefore you see pressure building up on these two, 4% down each for these particular stocks. Nestle, Infosys, SBI Life, Tata Consultancy Services, LTI Mindtree were the other draggers at this point. Shell, anything else you want to add before we wind down?
Sakshi, I'll just make a list of new highs
Sure.
for today, and that's important because the broader markets have ended in losses, and counters that exhibit record highs in a negative broader environment are obviously much better shape. We'll start with LG Equipment, 702 rupees, 3% higher at a fresh peak. We have from the public sector space, NTPC 358, 21% higher. State Bank of India 784.60, Gas Authority 194.25, 1.78% higher, and the likes of BHEL, HAL, Siemens and ABB from the infrastructure pack. These are the counters across the board where we see very, very strong momentum coming in. As also I will mention SBI and ICICI in particular because this is a heads up that we gave to you in our morning commentary. And today we've discussed PSU banks. Let's see what the rest of the week holds for them. Sakshi, that's all from my side.
All right, and with that, we wrap up this very special trading session. Many thanks, viewers, for being with us through the course of this day. And do stay tuned as Business Today TV will continue to bring you all the action from the world of business and stock markets even beyond this. Many thanks.
Darwin Platform Group of Companies is one of the fastest growing diversified Indian conglomerates with global footprints. It is setting up offices globally and tying up with companies across the globe for multiple sectors. The company has ventured into real estate and construction, stockbroking and finance, arms and ammunition, mining, airlines and many other sectors.